All right, paper number 2, problem number 3. They give you a chart that shows how long it takes people to drink their coffee in this coffee shop and the number of people that took that amount of time. So for example, the first line shows that 3 people took between 0 and 5 minutes. Those are the speed freaks. Let me get my pen going here. Okay. The first question, A, write down the total number of people who were surveyed. Well, all you have to do is add up all those numbers because each of those people, each of those groups, that represents the number of people in each of the groups. So the total number of people, just add up those and you get 60. Part B, write down the mid-interval value for the 10 to 15 group. Well, that means what is the mid time in that group? Well, the mid time is halfway between 10 and 15. And you can just think about that. It's 12.5, or you can add 10 plus 15 and divide by 2. So that's 12.5. I guess we should put our units there. That is minutes. C, find an estimate of the mean time people took to drink their coffee. All right, so what's the average out of all those 60 people? What's the average amount? What you do to do that is you got to take the average time in each of the groups times the number of people, or in other words, the frequency. So you're taking the middle one. Let me write those down. So 2.5, 7.5, 12.5 is the middle number in each of these groups. 17.5, 22.5, and 27.5. And then you take that times these numbers over here, the number of people. So you're going to take all those, multiply them together, add them up, and then divide by the total number of people. I'll just start writing that out. I'm not going to write it all out. So 3 times 2.5 plus 5 times 7.5 plus 12 times 12.5. Now if you wanted to, you could go to your calculator and do stat edit, set up a frequency table. But I really don't think it's worth it on this problem. You could just multiply all that out. Just punch it in your calculator exactly as I'm writing it. Plus 14 times 17.5, etc. Let me not write the rest of that. So you multiply all that, it adds up, then divide by the total number of people, which is 60, and the average time turns out to be, I got 17.9, 3 sig figs, minutes. Now what they're doing in the next part, they have changed that table to a cumulative table, and they got that from the original table. So as you look at the cumulative table, the time less than 10, for example, 8 people were less than 10 minutes, and you can see where they got that from up high here. If there were 3 people in the first group and 5 people up to between 5 and 10 minutes, so the 8 people came from adding those two together. So what they want you to do is to figure out what A and B are. There I've got so we can see both tables at once. So less than 20 minutes, well, it was 20 people up to 15 minutes. So less than 20, all you have to do is go up here and just add the numbers, which are those 4, which show all the people less than 20 minutes. So if you add, actually all you have to do is take the 20 and add on the 14. So A is going to be 34. And then B, well, common sense should tell you how many people were there that drank their coffee in less than 30 minutes. Well, that's everybody. That's the whole table, which is 60. So there are those two answers. All right, let's scroll and see what's next. Next page. Okay, they've got a frequency, cumulative frequency graph. Now, you got to be careful. It's almost a tricky question here. I'll show you what I'm talking about as soon as I get this up a little higher. Look at the scale along the bottom axis for the time. Each one of the little tick marks is going to be a half a minute. See, so this halfway point between 0 and 5 is 2.5 minutes. So that's going to be a little tricky, but just count carefully and you can get all these answers right off this graph. Let's see what the next question is. I can't see the question, so let me flip to my page. Here we go. Question E, part 1, for the people who were surveyed, use the graph to estimate the time taken for the first 40 people to drink their coffee. Well, all you have to do is go up the table to 40 and go straight across and see where it intersects the graph. Straight down, it looks like that is about the leeway here. Let's see if I can draw that straight down. It's not easy to do, but and remember, each one of those little ones is a half, so we got 20, 20 and a half, 21, 21 and a half, it looks like. But if you said 22, I'm sure they would count you right. That's close enough. So 20, I'm going to put 21 and a half minutes for that answer. So that's E part I. Now let's see what II wants. Number of people would take less than 8 minutes. Less than 8 minutes. So that's a backwards question. So we have to go to 8 minutes. So we go along the bottom axis. 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8. Here's 8 right here. Just go straight up and then straight over. Now the scale on the frequency axis goes by ones, so be careful. So 5 and 1 make 6. That would be 6 people. And the third part, the number of people who take more than 23 minutes. More than 23 minutes. Okay, 23 minutes, 21 and a half, 22, 22 and a half, 23 should be right there. So if I go up, there we go. Well, that looks to be right on 45. So 45 people take up to 23 minutes. But they're saying how many take more than that. Well, you have a total number of 60 people. So if 45 people take up to 23 minutes, then beyond 23 minutes, it's going to be 60 minus 45, which is 15. And I think, yeah, that's the end of this problem. That one's pretty easy. Done.